Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We see folks coming in. We're going to give it maybe another minute or two before we officially kick off. But again, welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to give it, I'm going to say to 3:02, and then we'll officially kick off with Brian and myself. Thank you all for coming. We're excited to talk today about the Confident Leader's Guide to Employee Engagement. Feel free to drop in to the chat where you're calling in from, how you all are doing this Tuesday afternoon. Oh, Emily, you're the first person I see. Chapel Hill. Yes. I'm a Chapel Hill girl myself. I'm in Charlotte now, so I love to see it. Got some East Coast, Indiana. Welcome, everyone. Texas. Love it. All right. Perfect. Well, we have a jam-packed agenda today. We are about 2 after, so we will go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today to what we call our March webinar, which is crazy to think that we are at the end of March. And I am really fortunate to be joined by my colleague, Brian. I will allow him to do some introductions in just a moment. But again, thank you all so much for being here for the Confident Leader's Guide to Employee Engagement. So when we think about what we want to cover today, there's a few things. Welcome. Hi, who are we? We're going to really talk and spend some time around our latest engagement updates. If you've been around for a while, you'll see that we got a bit of a glow up in the fall when we made some updates to our reporting and to the Engage functionality. We're going to learn more about that. We're going to talk a little bit around navigating engagement results with confidence. So how do we navigate looking at the insights and the data that comes in from the survey, and how do we turn those into action plans? We are going to have an opportunity for some Q&A and wrap up. We've got a few of our colleagues here helping us navigate the Q&A. So we do ask that if you have questions that pop up, feel free to drop them in. If we can't get to them during our Q&A, we will make sure that we kind of keep an eye on and how can we follow up in future communications. So without further ado, we will get started officially. And for those of you that heard as I was coming in, my name is Morgan Webb. I'm the Senior Strategic Advisor here at 15Five. I am based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And my role here at 15Five is unique. I have over a decade of experience in HR and operational effectiveness. I have an MBA, I've studied change and leadership. And so I bring this unique experience of sitting in your shoes. I've been the one that has been HR for a company. But now I get to come alongside our product team and our marketing team, our customer service teams, and really be able to say, how do we bring more HR into the work that we're doing and into the amazing work and platform that 15Five offers? So again, I'm really excited to be here today to share a little bit around how I navigate engagement results and how I partner with our customers to understand their results. And what I'll do now is turn it over to my colleague, Brian. He will do his introductions and then really talk about our latest engagement updates. So take it away,
Yeah.
Brian.
Thanks, Morgan. Thanks, Morgan. My name is Brian Deo. I'm in Indianapolis area, Indiana, and I'm a senior product leader on our team here. I've been involved in our Engage product for years, even prior to 15Five, was part of the team that was acquired, and super excited to share with you today a little bit more about the improvements we're making to the product. I think the big theme here is that when your team is engaged, your business thrives, and that's not just measured in improved engagement scores, but also in performance and retention. Ultimately, At 15.5, we are trying to help you strategically diagnose what's going on in your business from a cultural and a human standpoint, and then take very targeted action against those things so that you can see improvements. Today, we'll be talking about our engagement measurement tool, but ultimately, it is just one window into what's going on inside of your business so that you can do something about it. And we've really significantly enhanced your ability to do that with Engage. It's probably the fastest, most robust way for you to get up and running and get clean insights to actually do something to improve your business and drive the kind of outcomes that you can influence within HR. My experience here is pretty extensive. I've been in this space for 7 to 8 years, helped come up with a number of survey instruments and build products in this space, and have been on this journey for a long time. So it's really exciting. This is an exciting presentation. What you're about to see is really the unification of our Engage product in the broader 15.5 Strategic Command Center. Ultimately, this is about improving employee engagement, but like I said, it spans your ability to influence other outcomes that are maybe even more tangible. I think we know that if engagement improves, you're going to see downstream impacts on performance and retention. Today, I'm going to cover really the full end-to-end experience. I'm just going to touch on a couple key things, but we're going to go all the way from setup to action planning. So all the way from setup to analyzing results and then action planning at the end. And I'm going to jump right in to start with improvements we're making in settings. And I think the broad theme here is just unification of the platform. So one place to configure employees, one place to set up all of the Engage features, one place to manage settings for the Engage experience within the context of the broader 15.5 platform. The other way that this surfaces itself is when you're creating campaigns. So campaigns are the container within our system that determines who you send something to, when it goes, when it ends, and when the results are collected. And then surveys are the things that you add to actually collect, ask questions and collect information. I just want to encourage everyone here. You'll see why in a minute, but just want to put a plug in for our total engagement and predictive impact survey. That's kind of a new name. It's our traditional engagement survey, but the benefits that gives you downstream are really immense. We are not trying to build a survey tool explicitly. We're trying to build a tool that helps you take targeted action in problem areas. And we found over years of doing this that we can do that really, really well when we measure certain things in certain ways. And this experience, though, is intended to help you handle adding other things that you want to measure, like manager effectiveness, ENPS. If you want to do a custom survey, that can all happen in one place. And the UI for that is much improved now. Let's jump right in. One other thing we're adding. Measuring the right thing is important. Constructing the right survey and measuring the right thing is important, but you also have to collect enough information to have a valid result set. And so one of the things we found over the years is that there's really no better way to do that than to push some of that enablement and some of that encouragement down to managers to sort of bring them into the encouragement of employees taking a survey. So we're doing a much better job in the administration of a survey to give you progress tracking along the way and giving managers insight into that as well so that they can help encourage activation and completion of surveys. We're not violating confidentiality rules here or anything. We're just enabling people to sort of gently and encourage others, because most of the lack of completion is due to forgetfulness and just reminders and things like that. So all the same system reminders are there, but we're adding more of a human visibility to help nudge things along. Okay, so the most significant change here is this introduction of the predictive impact model. Now, we released this a couple months ago, but we're sort of reiterating here because it's sort of the culmination of a lot of things in one place. What you're seeing on the screen is not that different from a traditional heat map. You've probably, if you've evaluated an engagement survey or any sort of survey results, you've looked at something like this. But what matters is the numbers themselves and how accurate they are and how insightful they are. And in our sort of traditional survey, we are measuring engagement with 7 of the items. So that gives all of your employees a score for engagement, which just assesses what's their state of mind. How are they doing? How engaged are they in your business and the mission that you're trying to pursue? And then the other items, about 46 items, are intended to understand why. Why is somebody engaged or not engaged or moderately engaged? And the reality is, and I think we all kind of know this intuitively, that people, teams, businesses are very different. People have different personalities. Teams have very different functions. Businesses have different cultural markers that influence, how things actually interact for a person in that environment. And our intent with the predictive impact model is to evaluate thousands of surveys, 600,000 surveys were evaluated with millions of data points to try to zone in for an individual person, what is driving engagement for them. So you'll notice in this UI, and this is not made up, this is a very representative example of the kind of results our system will produce. Instead of staring at a heat map with like dozens and dozens and dozens of red and blue or green boxes everywhere, we're narrowing into 2 to 3 or 4 items that are really the thing that are impacting engagement for someone. And this is how these results end up appearing. We're narrowing in using machine learning and advanced AI to actually determine what is causing a particular result in somebody's person, high engagement or low engagement. And this goes both ways. It helps you isolate things that are positive. So for a team that's really doing well and is healthy, why are things going well for them, and can that be an example that you can replicate with other teams? But then in examples where things are not going as well, you get a really pinpointed, very specific, we're not even using driver categories, it's just this is the statement that when answered negatively is causing challenges. So it has a lot of effects. One of the things that we're really focused on here, especially to help you as an HR leader, is to try to explain this really well to the people who are going to be in the interface. As you kind of go from arithmetic understanding to statistics to really advanced machine learning, there is a degree of that sophisticatedness that's hard to explain and hard to understand. So we want to help you with that. We don't want to put that burden completely on you. We want you to be able to be empowered to not have to defend that system. And so we've added a number of ways to help people who are coming into the interface to understand what they're seeing, to know how to interpret it, and to know how to take action that's distributed and not reliant on you hand-holding everyone, every step of the way. Okay, so a little bit of a deviation, but a different lens that's significantly improved is benchmarking. So I would strongly encourage everyone to not use benchmarking as your primary mechanism for evaluating results, but it's a very, very good context adder. It adds context, which gives you confidence. And the way, whoa, just lost presentation. Sorry about that. The way it does that, let's go back there. The way it does that is by giving you a reference point to kind of gut check what you're seeing. I can't tell you how many times, and Morgan could reflect this, that we get into a conversation with someone and their score may have dipped or gone up between measurement periods. And the first question that's asked is, what changed around me? Like, did the world change? Did it just go up because things were better in general? And we've had previous answers to that. We've had benchmarking before, but there's a couple things I want you to take away from the improvements here. And the biggest one is that these are dynamic, and they're dynamic in 2 big ways. One is now you don't have just one single benchmark you're comparing against. You can select from any of these benchmarks at any time in the interface and switch between them. And we're introducing benchmarks across organization size, industry, and even global region. And then the second way that they're dynamic is we're not comparing against a fixed data set. It's a rolling weekly update that looks back 18 months. So if you took a survey in January and then you redo that in August, you're going to get a new refreshed picture of what the world looks like between those periods. And the purpose of that is to say, if my score stayed the same, I can see, did other things move? And that's a real movement. That's a week by week movement and comparison. So the hope here is kind of the theme of the presentation is to give you confidence, so that you can turn back into that targeted diagnosis and figure out where are the problems, and let's go act with confidence with these issues, knowing that it's not some external force or that's driving the challenges or even the successes. Okay, and then finally, that all leads to the ability to act. So we're back on the heat map here where we're showing predictive impact scores. And the intent here is to hand off into intelligent action to go do something about this. And that hands off into our action planning system where you can distribute effort against these problems in targeted ways to help particular managers, particular teams, particular departments, and manage that process to see it through to the end so then you can go do it again and measure and see if it had an impact. So all of this culminates, the intent here is to give you the ability to strategically look across your business, isolate where there are challenges with confidence and then do something about it. And you can see we're doing that, all the way from how you set things up and carefully and intentionally to how you manage the campaign, to how you review results. And then, of course, we have Morgan to help you if you need some additional assistance along the way. So I'd love to hear from folks. If you'd like to explore this further, we'd love to talk to you in depth about it. I'm going to hand off the presentation to Morgan. Pardon us as we switch here.
All right. Thank you all as we go through that little switch there. And thank you, Brian, so much for walking us through the dynamic, critical. I mean, honestly, I keep coming back to the amazing glow up that we have had. And I can tell you in my time here, the value that has been added in having a much more narrowed and specific view has been incredible. We can go from talking in generality and sort of these blankets of what we see and being much more specific, much more dynamic in what we're talking about when we talk about our engagement results. So Brian has set the stage for us, and you can tell we're excited and we're passionate, right, about our new sort of seamless, fully integrated experience. But you may be thinking, okay, now what? I have launched this survey. I have the results. I'm reviewing them. What do I do? And I want to take a moment, though, and sort of ground ourselves in what is employee engagement and what isn't, especially from the point of view of 15.5.
Hey, Morgan,
Yeah.
I think you're sharing your other screen.
Oh, goodness. Am I sharing the wrong one? See, we have technical difficulties all the time. Here we go. Is this better?
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you calling me out on that. Well, you guys all just saw my notes and you can see that we're human here. So there is a human touch to all things technology. So thanks for bearing with me on that. So let's talk again a little bit about what is employee engagement versus employee satisfaction, and especially here at 15.5. So if you're thinking about employee satisfaction, you're thinking about, are my employees happy? Do they like what we're doing day to day, right? How are they showing up? But you're not really always getting at the underneath, right? The depth of why they are engaged. So again, if you're running once a year surveys, you're barely scratching the surface. But if we really want to drive employee engagement through surveys, through collecting data, we have got to look at it in a robust way. So at 15.5, and as you just heard from Brian, we use sort of a combination of our engagement surveys. We also have a new launched life cycle surveys that allows us to get a continuous pulse on employee experience and engagement. The surveys help us measure key drivers of engagement at scale. Conversely, our life cycle surveys automatically gather insights at critical moments like onboarding, 30 days, 60 days, and even exit interviews. Now, again, we're going to predominantly focus on engagement surveys, but I love to call out that we do have this added feature of life cycle surveys because it allows you to have, again, that kind of continuous pulse on employee experience. And again, we're collecting this data and you're probably thinking about, what do I do next? And we're going to walk you through a couple of steps as an engagement admin. And when you first come in, you will see high-level organizational results. You can filter down to your organization's departments and levels, their hierarchies, to gain a deeper understanding. You will want to review and analyze these key metrics like the engagement score, the level of engagement, the percentile for the score, trends over time. And as Brian showed you earlier, our interface is much more dynamic now. And so I do encourage you to use these explore more features or our exclamation marks where you can learn and provide more context to better understand what the key metrics are, how they're calculated, what do they mean. Again, I'm looking at this. Great. What does moderately engaged mean? What is that level? Why am I in the 51st percentile? Again, you have the ability to be dynamic and interactive within our results and have the ability to dive a little bit deeper. You can leverage the engagement breakdown to look at various teams across your hierarchy. You can see their distribution of engagement across the 7 engagement score questions. Again, I'm going to call back a lot to what Brian shared. And Our survey and our engagement score is based off of those 7 specific statements. And you have the ability to look at that distribution and that breakdown to really give you insight around how is that employee showing up day to day. Next, and like Brian indicated, you're going to dive into what's impacting. So not only do I have my engagement score in that baseline, but what is impacting? What drivers, what statements, and to what degree? So once you have that good understanding of the engagement of your organization, you are going to dig a little bit deeper into what's impacting. You can switch to the statements. You'll find our predictive impact heat map. Again, this is leveraging the machine learning to be able to give you a high confidence in understanding what is impacting the engagement across your organization. You can better understand what statements, and again, have that predicted high impact. And while this one shows this, the static shot shows you a lot of red, and as Brian indicated, we want you to find the good. We want you to find the blues and the teals. What's working? Why is something working in one team and not another? How is that linked back to the engagement breakdown, right? Can we find some correlations? You're going to want to dig through, right? And as I just kind of gave you a hint, your highest impact is not always your most negative score. So it's critical to take it down just sort of a layer deeper than just saying what's my engagement score or what's standing out. It's really to be able to understand kind of what's coming out, where are your, as you said, a heat map, where are you looking to really gain the most insight? Now, we did mention, and I want to call out that you can toggle between the heat map and the list view format, and you can see additional details about those 50+ engagement driver statements and their impact to the overall engagement of your teams. So for example, you have the ability to see here that capacity and goal support are your top 2 most impact statements. And closely sort of third is another capacity statement. Well, maybe I want to understand what other capacity statements are there. If I'm in the list view, I have the ability to dig a little bit deeper and see where are they comparing to each other. How does it look on sales compared to product management compared to HR? So this, as your admin, gives you the ability to take a very narrowed and targeted approach to understanding your results. So now that you've kind of gone through, you've seen the summary, you've seen the engagement. If you've conducted an eNPS survey, it'll be there as well. You also have your open-ended feedback where you can go in and see what were any of those sort of sentiments shared along the way. And once you've done that and you've gotten kind of an idea and the trends and the themes that you're seeing, it's time to take some action. And when we think about taking action, it is not about making a blanket statement that works for the entire organization. Again, we're giving you really rich data. So it's about how do you take intentional action to improve engagement. Now, I want to share a little bit, not only from the tactical side of 15.5, but a little bit about what we're seeing for trends in 2025. We're in a unique position. And Gallup recently put out some studies and information around the anticipated employee engagement trends of 2025. And they're essentially saying that there will be an emphasis on different strategies that align with the changing workplace dynamics. And these will be enhanced flexibility and work-life balance. We know that continues to be a trend. Focus on mental health and well-being. Again, it's a trend that has been kind of ongoing for years, and we're seeing it even more so now. No surprise that there will be a big focus on the integration of AI in continuous feedback systems. Ding, 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 15.5, and what we can allow you to do as you gather data and insights, leveraging the power of AI. Another trend will be around a purpose-driven work and corporate social responsibility. There is a heightened awareness as we go into 2025. And while controversial for many of us, an improved diversity, equity, and inclusion practices are going to remain at the forefront. So when we talk about these trends and what Gallup is reporting on, let's kind of shift and say, well, what does that mean for us in our employee engagement? If we think about it, the insights that you are going to gain will allow you to understand, are these, topics important to your employees? How are they impacting their overall engagement? And so when we take sort of those Gallup trends and we combine them with what we're seeing as we work with our various customers, and we are combining it with our enhanced predictive impact model, we're allowing you to go on a deeper level. We're moving you from a driver level of insights to statement level of insights. And we're allowing you as the HR leader to really narrow your focus to understand where you and your organization are needing the most impact. Now, some of the key, drivers that we're seeing come up in 2025 are around meaning, capacity, and goal support. So are we driving meaning with our employees? Do our employees feel a sense of confidence in their capacity to handle work demands? And are we as an organization providing the tools and resources needed to support their employees and their goals? And so as I've worked with various customers and different folks in the industry to talk about what are we doing when we see these statements trending as some of the top most impactful statements, what do we do with that? So I want to leave you with a couple of ideas about impactful and intentional actions. We are seeing that there is a greater need to empower and educate managers on how to facilitate efficient and effective one-on-ones. Coming from those one-on-ones, how are we connecting the dots clearly for our employees? And how do their daily tasks align with their goals, the team goals, the organization objectives? Are we discovering what matters most to the employees? What gives them energy? Are they getting recognized in their preferred styles? Are we strength spotting, or are we always looking for gaps? It's imperative that we are co-creating development plans. We focus on win, we focus on driving impact, right? And aligning it back to the impact their daily work makes for their team, their department, for their business. There's going to be a really big focus on assessing workload. Now, what's interesting here with us at 15Five, capacity is not just the amount of work on your plate and the number of hours in the day, but it's your confidence in handling those demands. And so we're going to want to look at different frameworks to assess workload, to review priorities, to be really clear on the direction and the alignment of the individual and the team, and where there are opportunities to collab. And lastly, there will continue to be a focus on identifying and providing learning opportunities. I leverage a model of 70-20-10. 70% of your learning is on the job, 20% is from social learning, and 10% is your formal. So again, if we come from, we're gathering all of these rich insights from our surveys, we're looking for what some of our most impactful statements are, and we're coupling with it what we know and what's trending as most important in our workplace. And these are just a couple of ideas and examples of when we see key statements around meaning, capacity, and goal support. Here's some really intentional and impactful action that we can take. Well, what happens when we don't know what to do with that, right? Here's what we're doing. It's our strategic action plans. So from within our system, you have the ability to create action plans that are directly correlated to the drivers and to the statements of impact for your parts of the organization. It creates accountability. It creates empowerment and enablement for your leaders. The managers are who needs to lead these initiatives. And again, there are some best practices that we will recommend in drafting those actions. It all comes from focusing on those high impact statements, right? Spend time interacting with the heat map, understanding where you want to focus, driving through, and as Brian walked us through, to creating those action plans. Now, a couple of key things to keep in mind, because you might be thinking, oh gosh, this is overwhelming. I'm looking at the results and I have to create these action plans. You can edit them, you can add, you can delete. They are meant as a starting point for you all to create meaningful, intentional, and impactful actions for your teams. And they allow you to identify targeted actions versus blanket actions for the entire organization. Once you have these created, and we have some pro tips out there, really only looking for 3 to 5, you want to focus on quality over quantity, and you're wanting to ensure that there is follow through and that you're not overcommitting. You have the ability to launch your action plan and leave it up to your managers and your employees after you gain that buy-in and that alignment. And you should start to see the improvement. Again, we're allowing you to find really targeted actions to take. We're creating those actions in 15.5 and in our platform. We're tying it to our engagement. And then once we put our actions into plan, you're completing your cycle by coming back again, you're surveying engagement, and you're seeing all of those kind of actions come to life. All right, moving quickly here. I realize we are coming kind of to the end, and I want to make sure we get to Q&A. Last thing that we want to talk about is at the end of all of this, why do we do engagement surveys? Why do we want to hear from our employees? Why do we want to create action plans? It's to improve engagement. It's to improve our overall business goals. But we know that one of the biggest engagement killers is sort of that silence, right? Let me provide all this feedback. Let us gain all these rich insights. Let's think about how we want to take action. And if we do not communicate, whether as HR leaders, that's to our leadership, to our managers, to our employees, all of that work could in essence fail, right? And so we share a little bit here around best practices on where to communicate, how to communicate, where to make transparency actionable, if you will. And so again, the purpose of today is for us to instill that confidence. We have the confidence in our abilities and in the reporting and in the insights that we can provide for you to take targeted actions, for you to take meaningful steps to improve your employee engagement. And we're giving you some tools and tips here for communicating that ultimately will lead you to improved engagement. Now, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. We have here a couple of resources that we are also going to send. So you all will get a deck today. We've got plenty of resources that we will be sharing with you so that you can walk away and say, I think I want to do this, or how do I learn more about here? So you'll get some information. We'd also ask again, let's reach out. So if you want to learn more, if you want to have a different, deeper dive conversation, we want to hear from you. And I now want to get to some questions. So let's also kind of hear and have a conversation live today in these final minutes. So we've got myself and Brian. We're also joined by our colleague, Jay. I'm looking to you to see what kind of questions do we have today and what can we support you with?
Hey, Morgan.
Yes.
We had a question come in about, do you have best practices on how often to conduct engagement survey and avoid survey fatigue? And I think that could be useful for this group here, if you don't mind speaking to that.
Yeah, I took a swing at answering it as well, Morgan. So we might.
Yeah, certainly, Brian.
Yeah, I'll just repeat what I said in the thread, Morgan, then you can build on it. Yeah. Historically, we used to push this pretty heavily, like try to have somebody run quarterly, but with the various measurement instruments that we have across the platform, it feels reasonable to be running maybe a couple engagement surveys a year and then have a performance review intermixed in that. So depending on what your review cadence looks like, which can be a much heavier activity engagement surveys from an employee burden and a managerial burden are much less significant than a review cycle, which has numerous reviews and phases and whatnot. Whereas an employee survey is 5 to 10 minutes of their time most of the time. So I think that's probably the ideal. It's obviously going to vary depending on your org size and your capacity. I think the most important thing is your capacity to do something about it. I think survey fatigue is maybe synonymous with like inaction fatigue. Employees are tired of giving feedback and then not having anything happen. So as long as you keep that cycle going, I think you can push the envelope on how often you survey. That's my answer, Morgan.
No, I think you're spot on, and I love it, Brian. Yeah, so I think you've said it well. There's a couple of things, right? It is the capacity, the ability to make those changes, right? Depending on your organizational context, the appetite, the buy-in, what are some of the things that you're looking to achieve? I think there's also some unique opportunity to say, maybe we have these big, larger engagement surveys twice a year. And are there opportunities to do smaller pulse surveys that may be critical points in time that you want to learn about, right? Are you doing a return to office? Maybe we don't need a full-fledged engagement survey. Let's launch a custom survey to ask, right? I think it's a great plug and introduction of our life cycle surveys too. Maybe there's critical milestones where we want to learn information, but we don't need to launch our full engagement survey cycle. I think it's also important to keep into mind what else you have as an organization that goes on, right? To Brian's point, if you know your reviews are every, January, February, then you're having your mid-years. Probably don't want to do it at the exact same time, right? So are you going to offset? I definitely, in my opinion, encourage more than one a year. I think doing full-fledged more often, I mean, no more than quarterly. It just, again, kind of comes to that fatigue, but I really like what you said, Brian, which is it the inaction fatigue? Am I just sharing to share? And are we going to see targeted actions come out of it? Are we going to see change?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just add that I think I've seen too many cases of organizations spotting a problem that's really severe in the business, and you don't want to wait 12 months to find a challenge that you may not know about. I've seen numerous times where you spot a team or a manager who something's pretty seriously wrong, and the consequences of that can be severe. And waiting 12 months is a long, long time in the dynamic nature of the business world today.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, again, we'll plug a little bit more on our side, but the rich insights you get from an engagement survey, if you are coupling that with your performance review data and your turnover within our outcomes dashboard, you should be able to see some of those indicators, right?
Yeah.
If you're measuring manager effectiveness, you're bringing in that engagement survey twice a year, you've got rich data coming in from your review cycle. Now we're seeing turnover. Are we able to do some prediction there of where our pain points are? Are you able to intervene earlier or differently with that insight? So yeah, I think you're spot on, Brian. By no means do you want to wait a full year. I think you want to be able to bring in those different data points to tell the story and help you understand where maybe those gaps are. But also, where are those areas of strength, right? Of things that are working really, really well, right? Have you maybe had some leadership changes and you're seeing some really great traction and improvements? Let's capitalize on that, right? Let's learn from that leader, or let's understand maybe what wasn't working before that is now. So again, it's really allowing you as that HR leader to have the confidence through numbers, through data, to be able to tell the story of what's happening in your organization for your people. Excellent. If there are any other questions, make sure we drop them into the chat. I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, Brian.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go off script for a minute as we get to close out.
Yeah.
As you look ahead to 2025 and the great work we're doing and in the space sort of employee engagement, retention, what's exciting you? What's getting you excited?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately our goal is to help you execute a really clean diagnostic tool where you can plan and act effectively. And I think the dream scenario is to have that running continuously. So we're talking about how often do you run a survey, how often do you run a review cycle, and technologically, what I'm seeing is you don't need to do those things anymore. Now, technically, we got to implement a lot of stuff to allow you to realize that vision. But the world where we're kind of understanding what's going on with employees without a lot of like manual input, and then able to diagnose things just in real time, so that you're just constant. You come in every morning, Monday morning, and you're seeing where there are hot spots of things that have changed or risks that are bubbling up. That feels more tangible to me than ever before. I mean, some of the things that we dreamed about, 4 or 5, 6 years ago weren't really possible, but they're definitely possible now. The world has changed pretty dramatically with AI recently, and we're being thoughtful about how to implement that internally. There are risks, but the opportunities are so much greater to lighten the load on HR, to give much more human insights and coaching, and targeted, really focused help versus just kind of like squishy, generic insights. We want to give really targeted insights, and we've got more data and info to do that than we ever have before. It's about capturing it in the right ways and presenting it in ways that are helpful to you all.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you, Brian. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everyone taking time today to learn more about as we like to call it, the glow up of our Engage and the things that are to come. So really appreciate you being here. Oh,
Hey, Krista. Yeah,
Krista.
go for it.
Let's
We
see.
can't hear you. You're not muted, but we can't hear you. Let's see. Anyone else have I don't think you're currently muted. I'm just checking. Yeah, you're not muted on our end. Sorry, this isn't working for you. Anyone else have a question, or you want to type it? Sorry about that. Yeah, it's not coming through. Sorry about that, Krista.
Yeah, so Chris, we have a couple minutes if you want to try to drop your question into the chat. And see, I think we're trying to get
I
Tammy
just
as
muted,
well.
and I'm going to unmute again, see if they can come through.
Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Awesome. So as I was sitting here thinking of my question and then having trouble coming off mute, I'm going back as to, I think one of the questions I wanted to ask is not really specifically to engagement as much as it is adoption of various features. And as the admin side or the HR side, being able to measure adoption. I found some things challenging in the way 15.5 may give you access to see things as an admin and maybe not. And so when you're really trying to push adoption and know that, one-on-ones are happening effectively. I mean, we can see maybe that they're happening, but how effective are they? I understand the privacy piece as well, but
Yeah.
even something as much as the profiles and have you completed like all the fields of the profile? It's almost like it's hard to see all the pieces that I feel like we need to see sometimes. So I'd love to see, like in the development side, just the thought around that. Morgan, you saying being in the HR industry, you probably have a feel for what that's like when you're really trying to help your teams get better in their leadership, and how you can only do that if you really know. But we're new. We just got the engagement side of the platform. We've been 1 year in on the review side of the platform, but we've had some resistance in the check-in and one-on-one piece, and we're
Yeah.
trying to drive the organization, but we have a little bit of fatigue, system fatigue, because we had some other implementations that happened just prior to 15.5. But I don't know if there's anything you can share there in regards to measuring adoption.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is just adoption of features is a means to an end with any tool, with any product feature or anything you buy internally. I would just stay relentlessly focused on the outcomes you're trying to drive in HR. At the end of the day, check-ins, one-on-ones, high fives, all those tools, anything you use, whether in 15.5 or anywhere else, is just a means to an end. You're just trying to help people be engaged in their work and perform in a high way and be loyal and stay at your organization in ways that are beneficial to you. So I would start with that lens.
Mhm.
As for the actual feature development work, we'd obviously have to get into some specifics. But one thing you said that stands out to me that I think will be an area of investment for us is on the employee profile. That is a really, really critical set of rich attributes that help us evaluate a given situation. And like our data team and our data system is increasingly looking at those sort of things, job descriptions and
Mhm.
salary information and things like that. So connecting HRIS is really important. So you get a really rich, that's just filled
Right.
out really
Mhm.
in right away and up to date and stays up to date. Keep your HRIS up to date so it sinks in. I think that's probably the more important thing. Let people use the tools to how they see fit. But at the end of the day, those tools have to drive an outcome. They have to actually, improve relationships internally that help with engagement and performance and ultimately.
Yeah, I'm excited. The part that excites me is to now get the dashboard piece set up where maybe we can start to show insights around where we have higher adoption. We may have the insights may show certain things in our turnover or in our engagement as we
Yep.
begin to go on that journey. But and I've been working with a good team. They are listening. The team has helped in the background, and if they could get reporting behind the scenes, they've been there to help. So definitely appreciate that about the 15-5 team.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy.
I know, Krista, I want to hear from you. One thing that I will call out, and you said, Tammy, and there is our outcomes dashboard. We have manager effectiveness. So the MEI is a really great indicator, depending on how you configure it, and if you're surveying on that or including into your reviews, a really great data point to be able to see what is happening for particular managers and parts of the organization. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so Krista, I think you are able to come off mute and ask. Would love to be able to create a little bit of time to hear from you before we log off for the day.
Still can't. Now you're muted. Now you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thanks for taking a live question. This would have been a lot to type. So just quick question, if this has been a request maybe from some other clients or customers, but when you're dialing into the software and you're taking a look at a specific data cut, like departments, for example, and you're doing the drop down, you typically have the name of the department, right? And then you have the distribution spread that's color coded and the score and response rate, right? So what we're finding is clients typically like to see that headline of what groups are moderately engaged, highly engaged, right? Like they want that actual text label. And so the only way I found to be able to do that is if I go then search by each of those slices, right? So if we have a department and we have operations, I have to go search for that operations, then I can see their headline, overall engagement, areas to celebrate, focus on. Is there an option, or maybe I'm just not doing it right, where we can see that text outline at the department level? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. I'd have to go explore all the different possibilities. Morgan, anything stand out to you there? I don't think we have that visualization.
I don't think we do. And I think if I'm following along, I'm also a very visual person. If I'm following with you, Krista, I'm thinking that is not what we currently have. And I'm thinking kind of coming across the top and dragging down or dropping down, figuring and getting that nice summary page. The great thing is that we're getting this as real-time feedback as something as a user that says, hey, this could be an interesting way to be able to get those snapshots. Based on what you're describing, I do not believe we have it where it calls it out specifically, the moderately engaged, the whatnot. We're giving you the score though. And so maybe something that, again, we can take into consideration.
Sure.
Yeah. We already have. I have it on positive confirmation. We're already thinking about it and we'll probably.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's what I appreciate about you all. You take the feedback and usually it ends up getting implemented, but thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Krista.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And for those of you that stayed a little extra, you went through our technical difficulties, human difficulties, and getting you off of mute. So appreciate the live questions. If there's anything we can ever do for you, please reach out. We appreciate, again, all things that you're doing. We know time is valuable, but our goal here is to create the opportunity for you all to take these rich insights, to understand kind of what's happening in pockets across your organization, to take meaningful and impactful action, and then see those results, and see that impact again next time around as we're looking at employee engagement. So again, really appreciate you all being here, and look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.